Well, good evening, everyone. I am so excited about this special bonus session of Made for More Live. I'm so grateful for Dr. Orner for putting this together because I'm telling you, we have gotten so many amazing feedbacks from people about the updates from the authors last week and all of the students in the business school. So we decided to do this bonus session. So I'm going to, if you give me a second, I'm going to share to Facebook so all our friends on Facebook can see as well. And we are going to get started with the amazing Dr. Signorelli. All righty, so there we are, and we have the amazing Dr. Signorelli here with us. It is so good to see you. The last time we talked, you had just completed 90 days in the business school. So, I mean, it was a mind-blowing interview for me because I was like, wait a minute, all in 90 days? And if I remember correctly, Dr. Signorelli, you had already made back your investment to the business school in that 90 days.
Oh,
And
yes.
so many amazing things happened. You want to share some of them?
Yeah, happy to. So, hi, everybody. So, pathologist by background, I joined EBS in, I guess, June of last year. My husband and I started a billing company a little over a year ago. And I will say the first 6 months, right, before EBS, we were without the EBS support. We were kind of still trying to figure it out. And I will say within 90 days of joining EBS, business had not only expanded, but just continued to boom. In the last few months since that interview, I would say business has exponentially grown. Not only have we crossed that six-figure mark, we are on track for multiple six figures this year from a gross revenue perspective. We have started a wait list for clients because we have been so busy that we want to kind of hone in our process and make sure that every one of our new clients gets the attention that they need. And I'll just say, I probably should have shared this, the EBS way, not only did we gain our investment back, but it has given us the skills to not only be able to market, which, I think a lot of folks come in and they think, okay, I'm going to learn how to do that piece. For us, it's been way more than that. I mean, it's the marketing piece. It's how to structure your team. It's writing the SOPs. It's operationalizing processes so that we can scale and we can grow. And so for us, it's been incredible. I mean, we're on track to not only meet our Q1 goal, but depending on how the next week goes, potentially meet our year goal before the end of Q1. So I am very excited. I also think I've just gotten better at hiring and firing when needed, which, nobody wants to say those words, but you do sometimes need to do that. And that's been hard, or just how to communicate with your staff. For those of you who don't know me, I work in a big healthcare system. I do a lot of this day in and day out in a different world. But when you apply this to your own business, when my husband's leading it, our team's leading it, it's just a different skill set. And so having the EBS team has been unbelievable and incredible.
Just can't believe everything that you're saying.
Me neither.
And Dr. Signorelli is like, I'm looking and I can't believe it.
Me neither. I mean, we literally, without even going into all the details, it's gotten, I think we've had 10 new practices reach out in the last 14 days.
Oh my goodness.
And so, just the skills of just doing the process and having the community. And guys, I don't do all of what Dr. Una tells me, but don't tell her that. I would like to, but I do have a full-time job. And so, I kind of get the nuggets that I can, and I do what I can. And Dr. Una forgives me, and Makita doesn't yell at me. So, and Dr. Beckford doesn't yell at me when I don't show up to the success groups, but I try and get what I can out of it. And even still doing like not even all the stuff, we've had this much success. So I can't even imagine, one day if we were doing it all 100%, what that would do. But so even if folks are, thinking that, gosh, I don't have the time, or how do I do both? If I can figure it out, I think anybody can figure it out. I'm certainly not special. I just I love being an entrepreneur, and it's probably the biggest, I don't know, fills your cup kind of sort of thing. So.
Yes. I mean, because when you think about it, Dr. Signorelli, you're doing the best of both worlds, because this was a passion for you. Your business is a passion for you because you're helping the physician community as well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if y'all haven't heard my interview on Dr. Una's podcast, but I love a good spreadsheet. That's like my thing. And so, and I have done the business side of medicine since graduating fellowship. And so that's been my knack, right? I like the business side. And so how can we take that skill set, share it with other practices, give them the tools to be able to make their own successes in their practice through medical billing, of course. And that involves operational workflows, that involves spreadsheets and all the things that a lot of people don't enjoy. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm so excited for 2023. Just like the last 3 weeks have been so amazing that if this is how it's going to be the rest of the year, it's like mind blowing. So
Yes.
yeah.
And you're the second person that told me today that I've only had about 10 to 20% of what Dr. Unaz told me, but I'm having this level of success.
Mhm.
So for those of you who are just joining, thank you for joining. So good to see everybody. Dr. Spato's here, Dr. Rhonda's here. I can't see everybody at the same time, but I'm so glad you're here. And those on Facebook, hugs, 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 hearts, hearts, hearts. So glad to see you. Please take the time to share the video, because you just never know who you might be encouraging with these stories. You just never know who will hear these stories and just be like, what, I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna give this business thing another shot, because it really is rewarding. And Dr. Signorelli just told us that not only has she already met her Q1 goal in January, she may meet her
Year end.
her
Yeah.
year in 2023 goal by Q1.
Yeah.
And that is just mind blowing. And it's not, you are very special, Dr. Signorelli. It's not that she's you are Dr. Signorelli, right? Yeah, you are. You are very special, but you also mentioned that, you've got the processes, you've got the coaching, you've got the accountability, you've got the community that also helps, because you guys were in business before, but you've learned so much, within the EBS community and from Dr. Una, that it has really given you that momentum.
Yeah, I think, in order to be successful, right, you have to have systems in place. And that's always, and I have systems in place in my day job, right? But developing systems in a business separately, it does take a certain skill set that can be taught. And so it's those little nuggets of, how do you set your goals? How do you break them up into miniature things? Like all of those things are just little nuggets that help you succeed, plus the community. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community who really rally around each other, and got my success group member here on the phone. And, we just have such a good group that we even talk offline to say, hey, how do we, think about this, or help me solve this problem. And then you've got the Facebook group, and, it's just like rallies of people around you to win.
And another thing I love about what you're saying too is that sometimes people think the EBS is just for people who don't know what their business is or just starting. You're talking about scaling. Mm-hmm. You're talking about you have had the support you need to scale and to grow and to keep growing and to keep growing. You're talking about systems, building teams, how to create a network, because you're pretty much doing it from scratch. It's one thing if you're in the midst of an organization like where you work, but now you have your own business where you need to build these systems from scratch. How do you do that? But the fact that you can get that level of education from the school is really amazing.
Yeah, it's been critical for us. I mean, and again, I'm not doing it all 100%. I don't have the time to, but just the little pearls of wisdom, I mean, have just been incredible.
That is so good. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Dr. Signorelli. And so the link is in the comments, EntreMD.com/business. If you're thinking about it, if you're in a position where you've just started a business, like when Dr. Signorelli joined, they were in business for a while, but she was like, you know what? By the way, what made you decide to join? I'm interested in knowing that.
I had been listening to Dr. Una's podcast. I think like all of us, right? You'd like binge watch on, oh, she's got a new episode. And I literally started from episode 1. And it's funny, whenever I share her podcast, I'm like, no, do not shortcut, start from episode 1, work your way up. And so I had done that, but then I just had hit that moment where I'm like, I know I can't do this as well alone as I can with a group of individuals, with like-minded people. I had done previous coaching in the past, which was wonderful, and it was perfect for the place I was. And this kind of added on to that. And so that opportunity to be with like-minded folks, to share, to learn, and to have accountability, really all of it is critical. You guys have no idea how often I'll get to, I'm not as on top of it when it comes to my podcast planning. And so I'll get to the end of the week and I'll be like, I have to record one for Dr. Una, because otherwise she's going to be like, Heather, you missed your, and she doesn't really reach out to me, but she just in my head that I know I need to get that work done, because I know it's that consistency that creates wins over time. And so yeah, I mean, it was just that moment where, and honestly, the investment at first was scary, but then at the same time, I think it was Rachel Rubin, who said, that's her marketing budget. That's what she earmarks as her marketing budget, because she doesn't do anything else for marketing because of what she's learned. And so you can find a way to really make sure that, that expense, while, it is an investment, it is something that pays off quickly. Luckily for me, it was within 90 days. But honestly, it was that lifelong learning that I will take with me forever.
Forever. And then you're also using it in your professional life. You're also using in other areas of your life. And then the thing about EBS kind of feeds your soul. I don't know how any other way to put it, but yeah, it totally is like an overall well-being type of thing,
It is. It's just one of those things that just you're excited about. And it's funny. So my kids and my husband, I usually cook dinner while EBS is playing on Wednesdays. And so my kids and everybody are always listening and just soaking up the EBS. And I have a 10-year-old little boy who will help me do my cooking. And so he's taking on, and he calls it my new religion. So,
oh my goodness.
So he gets to get little nuggets and pearls as we cook dinner.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Signorelli. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate your story, and we're rooting for you. This is an amazing story. I just can't, I'm like with bated breath, waiting to see what happens at the end of Q3.
Me too.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Any questions, reach out.
Yeah, sure. Let us know how we can reach out to you in the comments. So, this is what the EntreMD Business School is all about. I mean, you heard Dr. Signorelli said that she made her investment back within 3 months, the first 90 days. But she said that she felt like, you know what, I have to invest in myself. So why not? So the link is in the comments. I always say this: filling out an application is not filling out a contract. Filling out an application just gives us the permission to call you and talk about you joining the school. And, and we are going to let you know if it's not a good fit for you. But we're also, maybe if it's not a good fit, we are in the position to direct you to what may be a good fit. But if it is a good fit, we're definitely going to encourage you and give you the guidance you need to really start putting those dreams to paper, start putting action behind them, start building momentum. And if you're like Dr. Signorelli, where you already have a thriving business, we'll help you scale. So thank you so much. Now, I'm so glad for everyone that's joined. Please share share the live in the where you see where the participants are. You can invite someone, or if you're on Facebook Live, we love you. Share the link. We would really, really love to have as many physicians see this live as possible, because it is inspiring. Anybody inspired? Let me know in the comments if you're inspired so far. I'm inspired. I'm like, man, there's so much possible. Now we have the amazing Dr. Sweldo, who is just mind-blowing. Okay, great, thank you. what she's been able to do in her business. And so I want to hear from you, Dr. Sweldo. Can you unmute?
Hi, Makita. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see your beautiful face. You're always such a positive, bright light. But yes, I am happy to be here. I always talk about a pre and post EBS in my life.
Yes, I want to hear about the pre-EBS.
So I forget how I found Dr. Una. I think I came across her in somebody's like post or Facebook group or something, and then found the podcast, and I'd been listening to the podcast for a while. And then she did like a EntreMD, it was like a 4-day vision live or something like that in April of last year. And it was really practical, actionable learning that led to like some pretty incredible steps for me just in those 4 days. So like I booked a podcast interview. I booked, I was quoted by CNN. I booked a local news interview with one of the local news channels here. And so then I was like, okay, if this is going to happen in 4 days, like what the heck is going to happen in the business school? And that really, I'm going to be honest. It is a high ticket course, right? It is a high ticket purchase for anyone. And it really took me a minute to like, okay, am I really ready for this? And, I think Dr. Signorelli, who's a complete rock star, by the way, she is so phenomenal. But she mentioned investing in yourself. And I think as physicians, we are not trained or socialized to do that. And so it really was a big step for me to do that for myself. And I, and I always tell people, I clicked the button, I closed my eyes, I clicked, and then I just have never looked back. And I think it's really, it is important about business, but I think it's really kind of a whole life approach. We do the monthly reading, we have the EBS success groups, we talk about wins with our kids, with our families. I actually just signed on a house in Fort Lauderdale, so the move is actually happening. I know, it's super exciting.
There's poop here. There's poop in the house, so don't walk here where there's poop. I'll clean it up.
Dr. Kaufman, you're not muted. Now you are. Okay. But anyway, so it's just been a really wonderful experience. So, biggest, I think, hurdle was actually, Makita, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. The biggest hurdle was actually just, like I said, clicking that button and joining the school. The biggest takeaways that I've had from the school has really been, number one, I've gotten back to reading, which I haven't done since medical school. Number two, the community. And so what's interesting for my journey is when I came into the school, I thought I had a very clear idea of what I was going to be doing for my business. And as I've been in the school, sort of opportunities have come up. I'm now in talks for a multi-million-dollar thing that might happen. And so it's just really kind of crazy, the doors and opportunities that open when you elevate who you surround yourself with. And what's nice in the school is you see people like Dr. Signorelli who are doing amazing things and who are so far ahead of you. And then you have people who maybe could benefit from your advice because they're closer to the process. So there's everyone at different stages. And I call myself the cold caller of EBS because I basically, will reach out to anyone. Hey, we're in EBS together. Can I pick your brain about XYZ? And, I have not had one person say no to me. So it's been extremely helpful. And I feel like the learning curve was also a lot faster because people had already been through it. So I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel or navigate it by myself.
That is so amazing. I'm trying to think of which do we talk about first? Well, because you said so
Yeah.
many things, and you know, I am so proud of you for stepping
Thank
out.
you.
Did you have your practice before EBS?
I did not. So when I joined DBS, I was an employed physician, or I should say still am, employed physician, entrepreneur. And really the thought was, well, I'm going to join another practice, so continue to be employed, but I want to maybe develop my speaking and become a speaker. And then, through the program, I met some people who were doing courses. I actually had the opportunity to do a 4-week course with the beautiful Rashmi Shram, who's amazing. And then sort of, along the way, actually, you'll know her, Dr. Fenwa. She was like, she uses the phrase, why not me? Like, why couldn't that be me? And so I see people doing private practice, doing cash-based, doing DPC. It's like, well, why not me? Why couldn't I do that? And so long story short, I'm opening my practice this summer. Yeah. And it'll be a cash only boutique fertility-based practice in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm super excited. Yeah.
And she's already got the house to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you're in good company, right? You're in good company because so many people, and even including Dr. Karen Kaufman, who we'll hear from in a few minutes, so many people have started their practices like they didn't intend to do it until they joined EBS. And then once they did it, they're able to build a wait list. And I believe that's probably what you're going to do as well.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, I think it's just, when you benefit from the experience of someone like Dr. Kaufman or, others, Dr. Tolu, et cetera, the learning curve is a lot quicker. Your runway is a lot faster because you have people to model yourself after.
Yes, that's so amazing. And I'm just really looking forward to this multi-million-dollar deal.
Yeah, so that was not something that was even on the horizon. I joined DBS in June, and then I was at a meeting in October. And, the talks we're kind of like about halfway through right now, but it's something that could potentially work out. And just, I would never have thought to even explore that possibility had it not been for EBS.
Isn't that amazing? EBS is not life coaching. It's
like
coaching.
business/life. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel because really, I think you have to, you maybe have this set idea of what you think you're going to do or what you think you're going to, and then as you start to see, well, could I do this? And could I do that? And then things start opening up and doors open that you maybe weren't expecting.
It's so true. And then, business can be scary in quotation marks, especially when you're by yourself, when you're trying to figure it out on your own, when you're trying to figure out, when you look online, there's 1,000 different ways to do everything. There's 1,000 different ways to market. There's 1,000 different ways to build your client list. There's 1,000 different ways to, to get new clients. So if, like you said, you said something so important. You said, I don't have to do trial and error. I have all these successful people who've already done trial and error. We have Dr. Una, who has a proven system. Like, this is what you do. This has worked for, 200 plus doctors. Just plug and play. Yeah. That to me is priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and on my 2023 goals is actually, one of them is to continue with EBS, because networking with colleagues and what I've been able to accomplish personally and professionally in the last 6 months has been phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see what this year brings.
Oh my goodness, me too. And then, you said something else, Dr. Soto, that Dr. Mercado said earlier today. I interviewed her earlier today. She said that, I'm a little spoiled in EBS because I thought all the other doctors were like the doctors in EBS. She says she's collaborated with everyone in EBS. Everyone was so accommodating. Everyone was so, open to collaboration. And she's tried to do it elsewhere, and she wasn't getting that same love.
And it's hard not to love Dr. Mercado because she's such a bright light. Yeah. But yeah, it's, I think that we find each other. I think that group is just something really special. So if anyone has any questions afterwards, I'm always available. I'm happy to reach out. I know the fear of, not really knowing what's on the other side. Is it going to be worth it? Am I going to get the value? Because I had all those thoughts, and I just, it's been worth it and then some, honestly.
That is so good, Dr. Swart. And you're saying that from someone who's experienced it. I want to talk about that just for one quick second. Oftentimes people will ask, well, how do I know it's going to work for me? How do I know it's going to work for me? Like, I hear all these amazing stories. You guys are just, like unicorns. I mean, that's how they see it sometimes. And I think sometimes people even wonder, is this for real? Like, it's so true.
Sure. I mean, I will 100% say you will get into it. I'm sorry. You will get out of it what you put into it. Like,
Yeah.
I made a commitment to myself, and Dr. Una still jokes about this, that I was going to be the best EBS student, and not so much to be the best student, but I was going to get the biggest return on my investment, right? So if I was going to pay this, you better believe I was going to be at every call, every homework assignment, every, book, everything. So it really is, if you're willing to put in the effort and the energy, you will get that in spades back. So I have been really actively engaged in the community. I've probably bothered some people, although they haven't said so. But everyone's super receptive. Everyone is super willing to collaborate, to work together. And as long as you're active and engaged, you will get your ROI.
Yes, you will. And then I think you were only 3 months in when the CNN thing happened.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, what? I'm sorry. Yeah. So it wasn't even 3 months. I had just started EBS because it was right around the time when Roe v. Wade was overturned. So, yeah. So really, really positive things have happened to me since my time here.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Spaldo. We are so excited for you. And thank you for taking this time in the middle of your move.
Yes, ma'am. No worries. Anything for EBS.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think it's also important to note that you have 2 small children. And
my 2 little boys at the EBS family. Yes, they all know well. They're in every post, every conference, everything. They're my 2 little guys, my whole world. But yes, I am doing this with 2 little ones. And I think that has honestly been the hardest, not the hardest piece, but going at the pace of grace, as Dr. Una says, and sort of acknowledging the season that I'm in. And I'd love to be able to do more, or to maybe put in more hours. But really, one of the things that we talk about, I was actually just listening to the CEO calendar and talking about rest and family, and really making sure that that's a priority, and understanding that, that there's always tomorrow, there will always be work to be done. And so it's really, recognizing the season of life and going at the pace of grace. But yeah, if you know me, those 2 little guys are my everything.
And we've adopted them as well.
Yes, they are little EBSers. That's right. That's
so good. Thank you, Dr. Swallow. Somebody posted in the chat how to contact you. So
sure, I'll drop it in after. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to talk.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Have a good evening.
Okay, bye, Makita. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And the link is in the comments. So I really want you to, whether you're on Facebook or on Zoom, I want you to take a minute and fill out an application, because I want to talk to you. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your goals are. I want to know how we can help you. And it's may not just be the business school. I may be able to steer you into some resources I can help, or it may be the business school. You could be one of these success stories, 3 months from now. You heard me speak to 2 people today already, Dr. Swaldo and Dr. Signorelli, that already saw results. Dr. Signorelli, she already made her ROI back. She already made her investment back in 90 days. And Dr. Swaldo, just joined EBS, and already CNN was reaching out to her. So I want you to go ahead and put in the application. If you're watching on Facebook, it's EntreMD.com/business. Now, I have one more amazing physician who's taken the time to talk with us today and share her story, and that's Dr. Karen Kaufman. Thank you so much, Dr. Kaufman, for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Makita.
So good to see you. Thank you for your time. Now, you're
Go ahead. I was going to say, I'm always happy to make time for EBS.
Oh, that's so kind. Now you're like, I know you're not gonna, she's gonna blush at this, so, but you're like a celebrity. So whenever I want to talk about private practice, I always have a like Karen Kaufman. I'm always saying that, because we're so proud of you. And I know you're like, well, I just did what I was supposed to do, but no, you didn't. I mean, you did, but there's something to be said about being humble enough to learn, and there's something to be said about being determined in spite of everything, So tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, my name is Dr. Karen Kaufman, and I am the CEO of Kaufman Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, which is an allergy and immunology private practice in the DC suburb of Vienna, Virginia. And my story started before my practice did, and I was in a multi-specialty group for about 5.5 years. And after experiencing significant burnout while I was there, which I didn't even realize that's what it was at the time that it was. But once I kind of pulled myself out of that, I decided that it was really the best thing for me to do to leave that practice and to pursue something else. So that was January of 2020. And I made this decision to leave. And over the course of the next month or two, I met with some friends, other physicians. I called colleagues of mine, prior allergists that I had worked with previously in fellowship, who had gone into private practice, who had their own practice. And I thought to myself, this is really the time for me to be able to do that. And looking back, I think the first time I really thought about having my own practice was when I was a fellow, when I was a junior fellow. The senior fellow was planning to start her own practice after leaving fellowship. And I thought, I didn't know that doctors did that anymore. I just didn't think that that was something that was, doable. And so watching her have that success and go into private practice herself, it was always in my mind of, this is something that I might want to pursue. And so anyhow, at the time I was leaving my practice, or deciding to leave my practice, I decided that the right thing for me would be to open my own practice in the town where I live and to serve my community here. So wheels got turning. I started doing my homework, and literally the day that I went around with my real estate broker to look at potential office space, that was the day that my kids came home from school and everything just shut down. And that was 2020. So
Wow.
at the time, my employer cut back all physician schedules. So going from a full-time provider to a part-time provider, it really gave me, 3 days a week at work and 2 days at home with my kids who are in school. And it gave me an opportunity to learn how to build a business. So it was during that time that CME went virtual, and people were there's always like a virtual option, I think, for things before, but now it was like this is a full virtual conference. There's a lot of opportunity to learn more things, to have information at your fingertips that we didn't always have. So I decided to attend a virtual conference on private practice, and this was the first time that I was exposed to Dr. Una, who was a speaker in this conference, speaking on her top 5 tips about marketing your practice. And I was just blown away. Of course, just like everybody else, as soon as you hear the woman talk, it's like you just need to stalk her online. You need to find where she is. You need to go to her HQ, which at that time was the early months of the podcast, and binge. And so that's really how I started to think about private practice in a different way, which before it was just this big, scary, like ocean out there that you don't even know how to get to, and so anyways, I decided to join the business school in the fall of 2020. So I think I was in the second cohort after EBS started. So I'm like one of the OGs from the very old school days of EBS. But what I learned was that if you do the things that you are asked to do, it works. I started doing all the things, right? I started putting myself out there on social media. She said, do a video. I did a video. She said, get on a podcast. I got on 5, right? And in doing these things, as Makita alluded to earlier, I was able to set up a wait list of patients before my practice opened. So I officially left my job, my employed position, just before Thanksgiving. And 2 months later, I opened my practice.
Wow.
With a wait list of 350 people. And so we had a full schedule, and it was like the wild, wild west of medical practice, where we were all like trying to figure things out as we went, new systems, new processes, new staff, trying to kind of put it all together. And there was every obstacle at the beginning that we had to overcome. But that was year 1. That was the beauty of the first year in practice. It was learning how to do it, like having a terrible day and realizing that I showed up the next day and I could still do that. And having a bad day doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. It just means you're learning.
Yes.
So we implemented a lot of processes in the second half of year 1. And at that time, I finished year 1 earning more revenue than in my 5th year as an employed physician. And, I paid back all the money I had borrowed and still had profit, which was amazing. So year 2 started, and it was the year of refinement. And it was putting processes in place and standardizing and really learning how to be a boss of other people who relied on me to give them guidance. And part of what made year 1 the wild, wild west was that I didn't really know how to give that guidance because I was really knee deep in learning myself. But in year 2, I was able to really refine that. And we had just a heck of a year and hit every milestone I could dream of. We surpassed our 2000th patient in March of our 2nd year in practice. And by September, by November, we had surpassed our 3000th. So that was just amazing to see that kind of growth, to become this household name in my community. And
that is so good.
It was good. It was so good. It was so good. So by the end of year 2, and this was also my end of year 2 in EBS, I decided to take the next step in my business, and I joined sort of an up-level version of EBS called EBS Scale, which really was designed for doctors who were doing all the things, but now we're kind of acquiring a new set of problems, right? A whole new, encyclopedia of things that we never knew were out there, and to learn how to navigate that and to really learn how to level up. So right now I am 4 months into Scale, and I have hired a physician. I've hired a nurse practitioner.
Wow.
We are growing. So year 3 is going to be the year of growth. And, I would never be here if it wasn't for EBS, for Dr. Una, her amazing advice, but also for the community of EBS who, teaches me just as much, if not more, and, are people that are always going to be there to guide you, to advise you, to trigger your mind to think of things that were not even on your radar. So it's just been really, really fun. The learning is just nonstop. And, I think it's one of those things where you just commit to success. That's what it is. It's like, if you want to have this successful experience as an entrepreneur, you have to commit to doing the things that you need to do. And for me, that was to take guidance from people who have done it already and to really learn from example. And so anyways, it's the greatest gift to be a part of this community. And I'm just so grateful that I stumbled upon Dr. Dr. Una in the middle of a pandemic, I mean, how
Yeah.
amazing. How
Yeah.
amazing.
That is so good, Dr. Coleman. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, your story always, I've heard it so many times, but each time I'm just like, man, you had a wait list of 350 people in 2 months. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome, to me anyway. But like you said, Dr. Una said, do a video, you did fine. Dr. Una said, get on a podcast, you got on a podcast, you just did what you were taught, and she has
Right.
proven these things work over and over and over again. And there's no guidebook for marketing a private practice, but being able to hear from Dr. Una and listen to Dr. Una and do what she says has made all the difference. I'm so happy for you because you said what you wanted was to be able to serve your community. So you're able to serve your community, but you're able to serve your community also in a way that's profitable for you. You're able to pay off, like in year one, you're able to pay off, all the loans that you acquired and still had more income than when you were employed, which is just phenomenal. And then also you had more time with your kids, and I think sometimes with business, people think that it'll take away their time from their family, but it actually gives you a little bit more flexibility, which I thought was really
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah, I mean, my office is in the town where I live. I mean, I'm 10 minutes away from my house with my kids' school right in between. So, gone are the days of not making it to their activities on time, always being the absent parent because I was stuck at work and had a 30-minute commute, taking late patients, right? Like all of that stuff kind of just melts away when you can set your own agenda, right? I need CEO time in my schedule. I block it out. My family's going on a trip. I block it out, and so it works. And even, the flexibility, like, when I think at the beginning of 2022, the kids came back from winter break to like a full week off of school because of snow. Well, I just brought them to work with me, I just brought them to work with me, and that's fine. And I could have never done that in my old position. So just to have that flexibility is fantastic. And my kids feel it. They know that, that I'm just so much more present for them.
Yeah, and they know mommy's a big boss too. Mommy is doing, hiring and, putting systems in place and, learning more about how to deal with staff. And it's just amazing. Thank you so much for your story. I would like you to tell us what you would say to someone that is thinking about joining the business school, but they're kind of on the fence. A lot of the reasons why people are on the fence is because they feel like, what, right now is not the right time. And you could have said that because it was 2020. There was so much uncertainty about 2020. Like, what is this? Unprecedented times is what we were told. You could have said, you know what, I'm not sure, what made you decide to make that investment?
I think for me, if your goal is to have success in business, the question is when do you plan to have that success? If I was left to do all of this by myself and just figure it all out, in my mind, there was no way that I would be even close to where I was at the beginning of year 2 by year 5. And like the idea of hiring not only a mid-level provider, but hiring a physician like that, I never thought I could do that. I had such limiting beliefs of what I was capable of, and I didn't have that ability to see beyond what was right in front of me. And so, I felt like certainly 2020 was not the time for most things, but for me at that time, it was a time to commit to having a successful business and to doing whatever it took to learn what I needed to learn. And so I think, for somebody who's on the fence about joining EBS, I think the question to ask yourself is what what are you waiting for? And when do you want to have your success? Because, you know, putting it off puts off that time that you're going to really be able to kind of level up your business, whether it's in coaching or, you know, in private practice or whatever it is. So, you know, I think the time is now, and it takes time to learn stuff. But just like Dr. Swaldo said, you know, you get out of it what you put into it. And so, you know, the guidance is there, the instruction is there, the tools are there. And then it's like, well, what are you going to do with it? You know, sometimes I feel like when you make an investment in yourself, which is really what joining EBS is that pushes you to be able to do all of the things that you want to do in the time that's available to you, because, you know, otherwise it's not really an investment, it's a cost. But when it's an investment, you get that return, and it just comes back over and over and over again. So so I think that's the best advice I can give is, you know, you owe it to your future self to just get started.
That is awesome. Man, wasn't that so good? Let's clap for Dr. Kaufman in the comments. That was so good. I know you, if you're not thinking to yourself, hey, I'm pretty smart, you should be. Because that was really good. And I know it came from the deepest part of your heart. I know you meant every word, but it was just really, really amazing. I mean, you're absolutely right. If not now, when? Because let's say you decide, oh, I'm going to do EBS, you know, next year or so, but you shorten your time just from the people you meet and just from the trainings that you get. And then I really love what you said about investing in yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a return on it. You're going to get a return on it. This is not, you know, I think it was Dr. Mercado said, it's not a purse or a car that's going to depreciate. You're going to get a return on it. And this is the best investment. I think it was Jim Rohn that said that you are your biggest, you know, asset. You are your biggest investment. So thank you so much for your time, Dr. Kaufman. We so appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your story with us. It's so inspiring, and we just can't wait to see what happens at the end of this year. Well, so we'll probably call you back on. Thank you
Well,
again.
I'm always happy to share. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. So that's it. I mean, this has just been amazing. We've met some amazing physician entrepreneurs in the EntreMD Business School. They are just like you. You've heard their stories. You've heard that they had times when they were not so sure. You've heard them say that there were times when they weren't, when they considered the cost and they kind of felt like, you know, can I do this? Is this worth it? But they made the decision to focus on themselves. They made the decision to invest in themselves. And you hear what they said. You hear their success stories. You hear their whys. And you know, the thing about business, I know we've talked about very tangible successes, but there's also the intangible, right? There's also the feeling of pride of knowing what you've achieved. There's also the time freedom that you get, you know. So if you are interested at all, any questions whatsoever about the EntreMD Business School, please fill out an application. Raquel has posted the link in the comments, and we will be in touch with you, because like everyone has said, if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? You are the one for the job. You are the person that can make this decision for your life and can make the things that you wish could happen in your life come to pass. And entrepreneurship is the way to get those things. So I want to thank everyone for coming. I'm so grateful to see all of you. And I want to encourage you to know that you matter, your dream matters, and right now is the best time to get started. All right, everyone, have a good night. Thank you so much for coming.